and I'm gonna clear and empty my trash. And I've got a few things here that I'm gonna move off to another window. I guess that's not how that works. We'll go ahead and pop it up. We are live. Woo, and now I'm hearing myself again. And which I'm gonna clear and empty my trash. That's this. It's a bit of an echo. So there's, if we were streaming live, so I have to remember to do that. There's a chat area in here. So there's the chat for the YouTube, and here is the link for that YouTube channel. So this is our first time to do this. So it may be a bit of a learning curve. So I'm gonna go back to somewhere. The little window for Zoom disappeared. So I'm gonna try to pull it up. The recording, there it is. So there's a chat for Zoom right here. And then there's a chat for YouTube Live here. So I'm going to share into the Zoom chat, the YouTube. And then the people on Zoom, we could have them upgrade, you know, or from YouTube to invite them into the group chat as well, so that it gets recorded. And I think the easiest way to do that is to go into this area, back to meeting. It's in that little bar that nobody can see. So I think if I do manage participants, nope. If I do more, there's something around copy URL to the thing, but I know it in my head now. I think it's getting easier and easier because I made it my old phone number. What's that?
I think if you copy the Zoom link into the YouTube link and just share that, that should.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do, but I had to remember it because it's not easy to grab yet. So now I've shared into the YouTube, so we could actually drop that. So now both are in sync. So now that we've done that, hey, there's another participant. It's Burn. No, he knocked on the door. It needs to make a louder sound when someone joins, because that wasn't wasn't easy. And so he's in the Zoom. Welcome, Berno. And then
hello, good to see you.
You ready to see all the things?
Yes, I am. Do we have? Sweet. All right.
If you're connected, and then we can see your face is good if you don't mind.
Sure.
And then I'm going to take the last time. Actually, I'll take Berno. Let's start this by time so I can see who I paired with last. So Shalom, I'm going to copy Shalom up to the top level. So I'm taking out of my people. I'm going to copy this file or move. Is it move? I don't know how to copy versus the other. This is copy. I'm going to move Shalom onto the desktop. Or I'm actually move Shalom back in here, and I'm going to right click and say duplicate. So I'm going to make a copy of the Shalom file. Because we're trying to do as non-technical as possible. And this is my pair with Riaan for the first time. And I'm going to copy that to my desktop so that we have the people, which is the most important thing, parting with someone new and going through the code Hippie doc. I'm going to take the chats and stick them on the side, because I think I want to make sure we don't, if we want to, since we're all three of us just on the chat and there's not anybody else here. So if I double click on riaan.org, one thing is it will launch our SpaceMax, which is a storytelling piece of software that we'll probably end up calling HuMax. So I'll move that aside. And the installation for HuMax is super simple, but that's for another time. And we kind of check into how we're feeling. So I'll go ahead and replace everything in here and just do space, replace string. And then I'm going to replace it where it says Zach with Riaan. And now this is about Hippie and Riaan. I'm just hitting tab on these keys here to go, but I want us to all be able to work together on this.
Could we do keyboard?
You're right.
As well.
Do you know how to do that on OS X? Is there some fancy?
I've not done it But let me quickly Google.
I haven't either. I was looking at that earlier and it's like, how do we share our, not just our eyes, but our clicky bits?
I did look it up last time we talked about it, and I know there was one. Enable virtual
Yeah.
keyboard on the Mac.
We'll
Go to
bring
the
this.
Apple menu, open system preferences, go to keyboard. Let me paste this in Mattermost for you.
All right. You know what we should do is paste it into YouTube, the YouTube chat.
Yeah,
I think because that'll show up in the video later better for things that are for other people.
would the Zoom show up as well? If I
It
do
will not. That's kind of an internal pre thing. So let me go to Berno's. Where did you send it, Berno?
I ended up sending up to the Mattermost, but I.
All right, I'm in Mattermost online, and I see the YouTube link I sent, and that's it.
Yeah, I meant I sent it to.
Oh,
Zoom.
here it goes. I found it.
It's
Go
it's
to.
also
So I'm gonna
chat for
bring this over here so we can all see this together. Ooh, it's full screen. Let's Control Apple F to make it not so big. And we're gonna go to, oh, that's cute. It's even got the Apple thing. So go to the Apple menu, go to System Preferences, go to the keyboard, move it up a little bit, go to the keyboard, choose the keyboard tab, yes. Do Show Keyboard and Emoji Characters in Menu Bar. Here. I think that just shows that wherever that went.
So
Let's
that's-
try this. You see that? I don't think this,
Dang it, yeah.
I don't know if this is gonna, hopefully if this works, that'd be awesome. Oh, it does. Oh, that's super sweet as.
Oh,
We're gonna
cool.
put that in the bottom right.
Little guy too. Yeah.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Next level.
We're gonna have to figure out how to do that with something to type versus how to do all that. But that was good freaking call, Berno. Cool. So now, if you see when I hit space, it lights up the space bar. So space. I kind of want a string of events happening as well, but we did the replace string, but we can't pair on this yet. This is just me typing. So here's some little quick slaying fears of the black box. These are some codey things. They're not what we're going to do long term, but it doesn't have any fancy software other than this one. If I hit enter on here, or I hit comma, it just launches iTerm and gives us this. And if I were to go over here and hit enter again, it will just start another one. It keeps starting new ones because the line 22 says iTerm new window start send string. So it starts a new session. And that's the magic we're using, for starting new sessions. But we don't have to just start sessions. We can just send strings to iTerm. So if I hit enter over here, you can see it just continues to send those strings, strings over there. So this technology kind of lets us, have a simple text area where we can control what we do. And I just have a little key combination that will send each of those things. So I just did space, Y, space, Y, space, Y. So you could just have a text area or anything to send that stuff. So this area here is just slaying fear of the little black box. It's just what you type into it, and this kind of some little programming things to send to it. I don't expect most people will use it this way at all. But I do this at the beginning to kind of show on your computer, nothing shared with anyone, how to have a right eye and a left eye connected to eventually any piece of software, but right now just the black box. On our sharing our eyes, this is going to launch a black box that's specific to our session with Riaan today. And the way I have it formatted right now, I hope to have session and window be separate things at some point, but now session and window are combined into Riaan : today. This, particularly if we set the dir to our /desktop, and we're going to open the riaan.org, which we already have open over here. We're actually, this is a file that we're editing together right now. And this is how we're going to display that to others. So I'm going to hit enter on here, and it didn't like in the file while, we forgot to do a quote there. That in the file while processing was because of that orange highlighted quote. So if I hit enter here now, it will launch, and notice the title says Riaan. I'm going to close this other window for now. This is now Riaan's right eye based on the text on line 38 that says Riaan today. So it hasn't done the today portion because it wanted me to be able to show you this and say, has it started and shown you a URL? So I'm going to click back on this and say, yeah, it has. And it says, would you like open a browser for the URL? So all I've done is hit enter on that line. I did edit it, but now it's going to launch this. And in another window over here, it launched a web browser. And this is the one that I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to copy this, as that's a fancy thing. I'm gonna put this into our we decided to use the public thing, right? So we're gonna paste this here. This is our teammate session. We should also paste that URL for the how we read the directions, right? So I'm gonna go back. Oh, there wasn't a directions. I'm just gonna take that text, Berno, that you did earlier,
Yeah.
and paste it into YouTube for how to get the.
So where do I copy this? Sorry.
It's okay. I've got to reduce it. You can only do 200 characters apparently. So I'm going to paste that, and then I'm just going to do it like one line at a time, and then check the thing, Apple X, and then paste the thing. And there you go. So that's what Berno brought us earlier. And Berno, if you want to drop, don't worry about dropping into YouTube now. But if you'll drop the link, I'll move it over.
Sorry, where did you paste that?
You won't see, oh, so I'll bring it over here. There's a YouTube channel that we're broadcasting to right now.
Sweet. Okay.
And it's not useful for the most part for us to be on it unless we want to paste into the chat. And so this is kind of capturing things we want to make sure everybody knows for later. So
Nice.
I'll probably put this under here so we can always click right above there to say how to say something. Because that might be useful for us to be able to quickly click on the various things. So I'm going to leave this window up, but note that this URL here that I just shared, I'm also going to share that in our Zoom chat, which I think is here. And so now I've shared that in the Zoom chat. In the Zoom chat, I'll bring that over here so we can, we'll type a message here, or we type a message here. There's our two chats. And I think this one may stay on top for various reasons. So I may have to resize our various chat windows to make them both fit in the space allotted visually. So I think that's us now. Now we've got our black, this thing needs to stay on top. I wonder if we can unstay on top with this guy.
I have a browser showing the same content in my site. That is amazing.
Isn't it fun? It's really fun. I'm going to move the Zoom chat because it floats and I don't know how to unfloat it. And so, yeah, Berno is moving his, like clicking and stuff.
Yes.
And we didn't do anything but really hit enter on that file and hit Y a few times.
That's amazing.
Cool. So I'm going to move the browsery thing over here until the moments that we need it.
Okay.
And we may find another way to do that. I'll zoom out in my in this box here. Oh, one thing to note, which is kind of fun to see in real time, is the box is limited to the smallest person's screen, and I've made my font ridiculously large so we can all read it. But if I resize this box, it will resize it in everybody's browser.
It does. That's amazing.
Isn't that fun? And if someone's on a phone and rotates it, it'll rotate there as well. So that's a fun one. So I'm going to move this over here because I do like typing directly in the terminal, and there's some fun things about that will be fun for others. So as we do this now, as long as the session is the same, if I hit enter on this block, it will launch a sharing thing, and that will also update on our web browser. So there'll be a sharing and today tab. And if I click on the website and go from today and sharing, or I click on it in the terminal from today to sharing, it updates everybody's on the same page together. And it helps a lot with clicking and being able to be on the same page when you're in the deep ness of the cloud. If you have a cloud guide with you or someone who's been through these waters before, it's super helpful. I think we'll put this guy right here so I can click and bring it up when we need it. So it's a little bit of layering going on. And then the other thing is being able to share that with our friends. I just went up to the URL bar and copied it this way, but there's some ways on OS X called PB copy that you can run, which will also, I need to change it from foo because that'll start a new session. We'll do it from Riaan to sharing. And so if I hit enter on this, it'll do PB copy this time. See that?
Nice.
And now if I went to go to our chat, which we've already done, this is our YouTube, I would paste it. And now notice that it's what we echoed there, and it's quite longer. It has an SSH. Ooh. Yeah, you see this text here? So if I take this text, and I don't have to copy it because I just did it. So if I run this again, and I'm on another computer somewhere in the world, and I open a terminal and I paste it, it will work in the web browser and in another terminal. So at this moment, we have my local, my web, and my remote over SSH all doing the same thing.
That is amazing.
I think the SSH one's a little different, I've noticed, because the reconnection. So if I'm on like sharing and I try to select with the mouse selections don't work. And that's just something I'm just learning about, because we're finally getting to the point where, because like on the web, you can select text too, but it doesn't transmit it. But if I'm inside here and I select text, I can see that and it's auto-populated back to me. So understanding a little bit of where what places copy pasta works and what places don't is good. So one of them has the Riaan sharing in the title bar, and the other one is running a program called SSH and connecting out to that cloudy bit.
That's exciting.
Isn't it?
Very impressive.
And this is the what if, and the what if was me kind of going, well, most of the time my hello world looks more like this. So the hi world is just echo, HHII, and then the person I'm pairing with. And so if I run this and I just change this title over here from today, so I'm saying CW to change word, and I call it the hello world or the hi I program. We just ran hi. And now there's a window for us to experiment with that, but we want to capture the storytelling stuff over here on the left as best we can. Because what that allows us to do, if we go back here and check in, which I want to find a way, I usually skip this part, but I need to try to get back into where we're doing it. Because the three of us have just been on a stand-up together and we kind of went through our feelings. But as you check in here, and Riaan, hopeful and thankful, and hippie is, and then we can step through and comma TT progresses it through. So we're done. We have a timestamp, and we have me, and I'm excited and wanting to help, wanting and ready maybe. And I can comma TT to do that. Now we've got a 2 of 2 on how we're feeling, but we've actually got 3 of us here. So then I'll go in through and just hit Control Enter, adds a new thing. I'm going to do, and it's going to be for Berno, right? And if I go through and ask Berno, how are you feeling?
Grateful. I am very grateful.
Grateful. What contributes to your grateful feelings?
Good friends and being in a safe place with a healthy family.
I'll leave that one unchecked. Safe place, happy family. Right? And so if you're on a mark like this, you can actually comma, and it'll X marks the spot. Maybe looks like it's a big capital X, right? It is. And if we went through here, we could actually do 0 of 0, and that makes it special. So it actually unmarks these sub things here. But when we're completely done with it, we can mark it to go comma TT to be done. Now there's 3 of 3, and we've checked into all of our feelings. Riaan, what are, and I'm going to change this to Berno, and then I'll add one. I'll be at the last for this. So I'm going to say, Riaan, what are you expecting out of this time?
I think my main expectation is to do an overview of test writing, where we find the basic information all the way up to when we submit.
We submit.
To basically to promote the tests.
To provide that. So I think what just to help set expectations correctly, when we submit a mock test.
Yes.
Because we don't write tests until everybody agrees that we should write a test.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'm gonna mark that, if you're okay, I'm gonna mark that done.
Mhm.
Berno, what are your expectations?
I think to support Riaan is probably I want to see the progress that has been made over the last, like since we talked last week, but help also support Riaan with any questions that come up or clarifying.
For those of you who are dialing into this later, Berno is one of our, Riaan is Berno's brother for one. And Riaan has a visa to start work in New Zealand, but is stranded and has sold his house and has sold his car and in the middle of isolation at the beginning of this journey. And so how do we support each other remotely and capture that information for others to do is part of. So if we go back into my expectations, I want others to benefit from our time together and see a bit of how we be together. That is me. And now we're 2 of 3 on expectations. We're really clear on our feeling. We're really clear on our expectations. And then how can we help each other? So Berno, Riaan, and I'll go last. And sometimes we might want to order it where the person that's done it before goes first. And maybe that's what I'll do here is you can help me, like help. I need help by both of you being very verbal and loud, very verbal on your thoughts as they enter your brain. Stop me, because this is the moment for everyone else to be able to benefit from that you had a question. Right. And we're in such a small group and recording for others. It's super important that if you want any clarity, that you just, let's get clarity, because we want simplicity and clarity. So help me make it simple. We want simple and we want clear. So help me make this simple and clear. That's how you can help me. And Berno, how can we help you?
Same, I think clarifying what we are, making sure that we understand the path from picking up the tool to actually building things together. And in that, I'm hoping for Riaan to have a clear path, but also being able to ask you clear questions of any things that is not understood.
Excellent. I'm tempted to go back in these where we have how can we help each other and see if we actually did by putting in our little counters there. There's also percentages. You can do 0 percentages, like how much percentage, right? If you just, and they'll auto update. So if I like do comma on that line, it gets to 50%. And so the next part is anything else that you want help?
I think that works for this.
Riaan, can you clearly articulate how we can help you?
I think the most important thing is to understand the business process step by step to be able to get the outputs required by our customer.
And the Benjamin, you cannot climb in there. It's not okay.
We have some helpers that is helping as well to set the mood and the environment. A very collaborative space, and having family part of that, I think, helps keep it all real.
Well, this is life in the midst of COVID-19 isolation.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I probably responded a bit harshly there because I was scared with the loud noise. Sorry, Benjamin. I got a little bit loud. I know that must have been terribly scary. Yeah.
Hello, Benjamin. How are you, sir?
Hello.
Yes, very true.
I'll be right back.
Thank you. As I also have a
Yeah.
helper come through on mine.
A family moment there.
Exactly. This is the time for everybody being locked into their houses with all their family to truly blossom. We were talking yesterday, Riaan was supposed to be in New Zealand this week, and we were talking if we had 4 weeks of isolated lockdown in a 4-bedroom house with 10 people, that it probably would have been a lot more chaotic. We would have gotten to see each other after not living in the same country for 20 years, seeing each other 24/7 for 4 weeks would have been a very intense reintroduction. So I can't say that would have been good or bad.
It would have been intense. Yeah, that's the way it goes with this virus. Hopefully we'll run it down soon.
Yeah, I am grateful that there is tools like this that we can actually talk to each other. I spent time with friends yesterday, being able to play games online with families, playing board games online, and having this kind of technology. We're talking how hard it had to have been in the last 10 years, if this was going on even 10 years ago, when there was not the kind of bandwidth where we could video talk to each other, where we could hang out and share with each other. And that makes me hopeful for the future, because we can.
He's with his mama.
Welcome back.
Yay. We were slaying fears and the output. The most important thing to understand the business process when the output the customer requires.
Exactly.
Right.
We are supporting this, the development of the testing, and clearly the customer want to see progress there, and we need to understand how we will help to make that happen.
Yes. All right. We'll set the percentage points over here. Percentages of the to-do, but we'll mark the overall have we done it yet there, but we're still 0% on making sure we helped each other. We should probably add the expectation there as well. So did we capture what was expected? Yes, but we didn't capture, did we attain what we were expecting in the end? So the metric of success there for our time together is a quick wrap up at the end to make sure that we saw what we were looking for and our expectations were met. Hold on. Oh, it's okay. I thought it was the kids. Cool. So now we have our percentages to go back and check on our expectations. And now how do we actually do that? So we've done our fear of slaying the box and how we share our eyes with our hi world and our sharing the Riaan.org. It's actually the first time we've paired using this technology. And we did a little bit on the inviting others. I think there's 2 lines there. The main thing was this one and sharing it with our friends. So like our next, this is kind of like our agenda. So this first part was the thing, and that's what our agenda is, sharing our eyes. And now that we've gotten to this point, the next part would be how do we probably on our expectations, right? And making sure that we set an agenda based on that. And so our what if is kind of at the end, that well, what if we take this thing and do something? So our overview of test writing. And under that, we do, it's 3 there. Basic information on submitting a mock test. Make sure we got that for Riaan, for Berno. See progress. Progress since last week. And then for myself, what did I say? Ensure others benefit. So this is some of this is actually higher. So this is up here and up here. So maybe we'll take these at the top real quick just to sort them. And then help you by being very, this is the help. And I think the help just helps us make sure we get our expectations. So we'll go back on that. And so part of the ensuring others benefit portion is having a quick look at the why, at least my why, as I'm sharing it with you. And that involves having a special, this is for Riaan, so Riaan. This is my how we co-hippie. This is part of how I work with others, is helping them understand the co-hippie way. And it just, we won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but it allows us to go through and look at it a bit later, is on our co-hippie org file. And I'll make sure that the dir is set to our desktop. So that file gets opened in our sharing area. And if I hit enter on that, it should, why is it launching another one? Because it says HH. Oh, we forgot to add some. So I'm gonna just gonna kill that one. So, and just say Control G to say cancel that. I forgot to put in front of that a session. So that sets the session so that Riaan is the target, like it says Riaan in the little area over here. And then it creates a co-hippie. And we won't call it cohippie.org, we'll just do co-hippie. If I enter over there, it just launches a new buffer that's now focused on the co-hippie document. And if I open this how I be fully me over here, and you be fully you, and the one thing.
I would say in the browser, the tabs are very nicely shown up. Like it's really
yeah,
easy
let's go back and look at that.
in the browser.
So there's cohippie, HH, II, sharing. And so on the cohippie area, one thing I want to do here is, while we are editing code with line numbers and things, and I'll keep that present, I also want us to be able to see this in a presentation style. So if I hit comma EE, it brings up an exporter that we can hit space or backspace to see the list. And one of the things at the bottom is reveal.js HTML presentation. So if I hit V and then B to browse, it'll launch in the browser a presentation based on this file that we're editing together. And I think it's a really easy way for us to walk through just the real quick bits of how we be ourselves near each other and be safe and be fully ourselves. Because I think everybody has something beautiful to bring. And I said page down, it helps that I have one thing. And that one thing for me is like my mantra, my prayer, and everything I do it for everybody. And in whatever you do, do it for all humans, not just for some. That one thing helps prioritize my top words. My top words are globally beneficial, viral human perspectivals. I don't know if that's a thing, but I hope it becomes a thing. We're all born with some. And if we should look at through someone else's, like, wow, your perspectives are amazing. Your perspective evolves as you are around other humans, and the contagiously good bits go along. I have passions or things I love or things that are my beliefs. And my passions, they define who I am, and they affect the way I see the world. So I just want to share a bit of my perspectives with you, that people are my passion, they're my love, they're my thing. And we all inherit the unique perspective on the things that grows throughout our life as we learn from others. I love to see growth in individuals. I think it grows all of humanity. As Mr. Rogers put it, you make this day special by just you being you. And I like you just the way you are. I'm passionate, and I love and I believe in servant leadership. It's mutual submission that is gifted freely and delightfully by each of us to each other. It can't be bought. You can't take it. It's a gift. I think all invitations all humans should have an invitation, a choice to participate in what people are doing by servant leadership and not have to pay and not have to. I don't know. There's some things that are kind of inherently. I think it's a human right to be able to be a servant. And that's not being servile. That's a gift. You can't. It's not a power thing. It's power for the person who is serving, not if they're being forced to. I love and I believe in viral generosity, giving something away in such a way that the receiver receives something of so much value that they know how to give it to others and are compelled because of the value of it to share. I did some stuff, and I can go into that. You guys know all these things about the Cambodian kids and the first II USB sticks and the food program. This is kind of like the fishing versus teaching fishing, giving people a result. I want to co-think with you today. And I've got other stuff I'm firmly against, and that just helps to clarify some stuff, but I'll go just quickly through it. I don't like resource scarcity mindset. I don't like unequal relationships, and I don't like exclusion, because exclusion is, put bluntly, hell. So if hell and heaven are a lot alike with a delicious banquet set out, and we all got 3-foot arms with forks on the ends, the only difference is in heaven we feed each other and in hell we feed ourselves. This is a little bit of being with me. I have other things and strengths that I go through with folks. Inside the file, you can see we go through my top words, my passions. There's notes that we can add here that are all part of the presentation with the things I'm firmly against, my themes or my strengths, and it's a work in progress. And I'll share this with you when I'm done.
I love those.
Isn't it fun?
Especially in this time that we are, I think there's little that's going to matter more than the relationships that we have and people looking after each other. So I love that.
Somewhere in here, because this is me, but like our whole thing is at II is our currency is relationship. And so all of our tooling and all of the things and how this, my one thing for me and for II is relationships and connection. So everything I do is about all of us connecting to one another, and that special between the eyes, you're an I, I'm an I, the between our eyes is this holy, freaking incredible, amazing, undescriptible, can't put a word to it thing. And I want that to be experienced and enjoyed and shared and yeah, because it's good stuff. So we'll go back to
if there was ever a good time to introduce a way of thinking like that, Werner's right. This is the way we live is not going to ever be the same after this lockdown is over. The whole world is going through a mindset change, and everybody's forced to sit at home and rethink, what on earth am I busy with?
But the blessing that we've been talking about this for, there was a swallow in that room still, and it was open a year ago, and coming 2 times where it is so true. Amazing.
We can take notes in this stuff, like what Riaan was saying. We'll never be the same after this. It's a really good time to share our, I don't know, I always say share my eyes. That's not what you said.
Our talents and blessings are everything, yeah.
And then Riaan, you were just saying, Barno, you were just saying.
That we have been discussing relationship as currency for over a year when I started working with you, and that it just becomes more true as time goes on. When you still had swallows in that imaginarium that greeted us every morning.
We did. We had swallows, that pooped in my coffee.
Did you evict the swallows?
They were not in house case, Riaan. Yes, we had to evict them at some point.
Okay, now where's the love now?
Awesome. So ensure others benefit. I go into that. So why are we doing it in this particularly peculiarly funny way, where we make sure everybody's faces are seen? We make sure that everybody has a chance to type. I'm still working on that around where each of us has our own little website that we're working on together on the same file, kind of like Google Docs. but that's some software called Togetherly is probably our first point of call for that. But we'll go that in. So I think others will benefit from this time together. And we still haven't done any Cody bits. Progress since last week. I know if you just type this out. Some progress is the flow has been updated by Zach and Caleb, and lots of tests of mock tests first, and tests and promotions have come out of it, right? And that's promotions. So one fun thing, if I want to jump to the letter A in promotions, I can do space JJ and then hit the letter A and then go the green letter H and then the orange letter D and H D, and now I'm on that character. So and hit R and then O, so promotions. They're not, and there you go. And I'm actually doing that all via the web, not even in my terminal, which would be a little bit more less latency because it goes out to the web and back. So that was one, like the flow is getting really good. And also the way that we connect and record, like make big, I'm gonna put asterisks around that. So we record our time together, both now via video and via our org plus, I call them storytelling files. It's getting a lot better. So now like we're just now, what are we, 20 some odd minutes into the call, and we're just starting to get down to the basic submissions of writing a mock test. And I am super okay with that because we are all on the same page. We're really clear what we're gonna do and we know that it's gonna benefit others. So let's do that now.
I think
Go ahead.
through our previous Zoom meeting and the time that I had available to go through it slowly afterwards, it really allows a lot of information to be shared fast and reviewed later. So I think it's a very good strategy we've got going here.
It's good, and plus you can share it with others, right? So these are going to be public videos. You can have people join the YouTube live stream, and you can tweet about it the moment we start, and we can have this chat going on. And I'd love to have a stream of the things that we type and somehow bring the stream of YouTube into here. So we have the YouTube and the internal chat. Because there's a bit of latency. I don't think people realize how slow it is to get from YouTube into, because it's about a 22-second delay in the live stream. But right now, it took me 2 days to get the file uploaded so you could see it, and we wasted that. And now you can go back immediately. You could go back in the middle of the call and rewind it back 3 minutes.
That's brilliant.
And pause it on that screen that hopefully had the characters displayed on the screen as we were going. But this is what
is the YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel? Well, I don't know. I'm not. Let me figure that out. So if I launch a little browser tab here and I go to YouTube, and I'm logged in as II, and I go to here and I click on channel, your videos. And if I go to your videos, this is the Riaan+Hippie being ourselves now, it's live. So if I click on here and I don't want to edit the queue, I just want to copy it. Can I copy link address? And I'll put it into our channel. So I'm gonna Apple V here, and we'll just say, so if I select this text, I hit V and then to the beginning, oops, hit V and then go to hit $ to do the end of line, and then I hit back once, it's not the whole line. Oops, somebody hit enter. And it locks the browser. It works.
That was me copy pasting from my side. Amazing.
You can even hit enter on the computer and it will launch programs on my computer. So that's great. I want to edit this. So I've selected the text with V and go comma IL is for edit link. And that's the link, but I want it to say something else. And this is you're going to say that this is our control. And there was text there, but I'll go live YouTube stream. Right, and this is our live YouTube stream. And we go, yay! And that also is going to be inside of a Zoom channel. So if I go into where's the little funny Zoom around the room thing?
Okay.
I don't know where it went, but I can scroll back up and grab the Zoom meeting link, because the Zoom meeting link is going to be pretty static. This is a funneled number that I have. So I'm gonna paste here and go, I'll do it in a different way this time. I'm gonna do comma IL for insert link, and it wants the link, and now I paste it. And then I say, this is our Zoom meeting, and the meeting ID is 806-543-2100, which is my Lubbock cell phone number that I ported into Google Voice, and will eventually be just a VoIP line that rings the imaginary phone. Isn't that fun? But that's now a Zoom meeting link. So if we clicked on that, it would launch the Zoom meeting, which is also here.
I still want to capture, so I want to copy that YouTube link on my side.
Yep. So one thing is the piece of software. Woo, you launched it. I've got to figure out how to turn off auto clicking on the links. So on your side, it depends on the terminal program you're using. Are you using the web?
So I'm just looking at it in the browser right now.
All right, let me pull over the browser and see how we might do that. Because if you click on it here, it's definitely gonna, like you can see that it's clicking around and launching. You can select text. So this works much like you're in Emacs doing the thing. But if you want to copy it back, I think it's control, look at there. That was right click with control click. You see it pop up underneath.
Nice.
Let's not do that. Fascinating as it is. Yeah, I don't. So what I would do, and anybody can do this, and this is what's kind of fun, is if I go space JJ and I hit letter H and I go to HH for that particular one, and then I hit the V key and I go to the end and select it. Pardon me. And I hit Y. I yanked it into your copy pasta buffer. So you can go hit Apple T, but you wanted the YouTube one, right?
Correct.
So let's go back and do the YouTube one. So I'm going to go back here and copy IL. So there's the YouTube link. If I do Control K and Y, Control Y to yank it, that's actually now in your copy buffer. So we can, all of us, any of us can populate the other person's paste buffer. So you can just open a new tab and paste the URL for the YouTube video.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting style and things right now in my copy paste buffer.
All right, it may not. So it's hard for me to remotely test it. We need to do that at some point.
Yeah.
But like if I go here and I paste it and I select it with my text here, so you can see I'm like selecting the entire line.
Yep.
And then I hit Y. Your browser should have said something like it populating the window, but I'll also send it to you, Berno, via paste.
Perfect.
So there's the Zoom link, right? Actually, that wasn't what I copied, was it? It was this thing. And then if I paste that, oh, something is not working as expected. So, is it Alt click? I'm gonna try just Alt. Again, copy pasta is the problem.
Yeah.
It's not al dente just yet, but we're getting there. So I just sent you the YouTube link.
Did you send it in Zoom?
Funny enough, I can send it to the YouTube on the channel, but everybody watching this is already on that channel.
Are you sending it in Zoom chat or where?
I sent it via Mattermost to Berno.
Thank you very much. Yay.
Zoom chat is over here. I can also send it there.
That's brilliant.
I got to pay some bills real quick.
Okay.
We're buying some more keyboards today. Did you want a keyboard? You said you wanted a keyboard, right?
Please, if they have, yes.
All right, go pick it out. I go pick the one you want out.
Where would I pick it out?
On Kinesis' website. You get a custom one if you want.
What's the starter kit?
There isn't it's just a keyboard. Like
I need a starter one for amateurs. I'm learning. I want to learn Kinesis.
Yeah, I use the Advantage too. I really like it. So like Advantage 2 keyboard. So there's the support page for it. And it looks like that, right? And that's the simplest one. I mean, but I get custom ones, so I'll hold my keyboard up to the thing. I don't like to have keycaps. It's just like, I don't know, we play this instrument a lot, so it's okay to have a nice one. There's also a Smart Set Advantage. So if I launch the keycap app, there's an app for programming it. And so there's the layout of the keyboard, and you can have a whole bunch of stuff to have repeat delays and macros, a bunch of other stuff, which I've enjoyed having that. So I'll drop the link to the thing here in the YouTube for those following along. That's okay. We'll come back to that. Let's march forward on our getting the things done, and we need to figure out the copy pasta stuff a little bit. But I do want to try to focus on. It seems like it's kind of stuck here. Is the terminal sharing work? Terminal sharing is working. It's just Emacs that appears to be stuck. Let's go back to the GUI for Emacs, which is right here, and see if it's not stuck. So is it just that window? No, that's whatever's unstuck. That's fine. So in our shared window, I'm gonna go back to our I think it was our browser that was open. Yeah. So now we have our live stream. I'm gonna put that overview. Maybe that goes up at the top somewhere. But now, how do we actually get this stuff done? And one of the things I'm going to do real quick is just figure out where this stuff is. And I'm pretty sure I just put it in API Snoop. So we have this folder called API Snoop, and there's a file called testwriting.org. And if you hadn't cloned it out, we would run some other commands. But I'll go ahead and type those in here. And we'll do it in a teammate, and we'll do it in the session for Riaan. And we'll call this one API Snoop. Right? And in this window, and I'm going to type echo because it's not real, but we would cd to home, and then we would do a git clone, and it's recursive. Maybe it's recursive. I tend to do recursive most of the time in case there's subrepos. They're called, but it's really just the URL on GitHub or cncf API snoop.git. And this would create that folder that we're about to look at. And in that folder, we'll just do a git status for the moment, and then do git branch, and then we'll do something else, right? So this first little block here is, and I think I'm going to overview of test writing. I'm just going to kind of set this as the title, our information on writing a test. That way these blocks are a little higher level at the second level. So this one is checking out the API Snoop source code.
Brilliant.
And then we can even give named blocks to these if we wanted to. Checking out the source code. Teammate blocks in themselves don't normally produce output like this. So you'll note, and to make it a little less jarring, I'm going to do this in this window on my desktop, because I pull up the Riaan file and I go down here, because when I run this, it's going to create a new tab in our browser. We'll leave it open there so you can kind of see, and it's also going to create a new window in our teammate session, and it's a little jarring if you don't understand what's about to happen. So when I hit enter here, we now have an API Snoop window up here, and it didn't we forgot to cd into API Snoop for that. So then I'll just go ahead and, well, we need to, it's cd to home, and then we cloned it, and then we need to actually cd into API Snoop for that to work. So I hit enter again, and it'll run. And did we not check? Maybe, oh, it didn't cd. We do need to cd to the home, not echo. We need to actually, the only thing we're not going to actually do is get cloned. So now we can cd in there and see that we got some git status stuff. on the web in the other. So I'm going to cover that up now, just so it's a little easier. And that's when you have a teammate block, right? But one other thing we also want to be able to do is run these commands in a different kind of block. I'm just going to hit Shift V and then Y and then Shift P. So I just copied that whole block. And this is get commands. And these commands we're not going to run in a teammate. We're going to run them in a shell block. And to be more clear, we're going to run it in bash. And then we're going to run, in this case, I'm just going to run a command called get status, just to kind of see what the status is. And maybe we'll add I'm just going to do Alt Enter. Sorry, is it, we're going to do a new one right here. I'm just going to add 3 stars and say get status. And if I hit enter on here, it's going to execute it. Space, I don't know, space 2, space WM. So if I hit comma here, it says no repository. So we need to set the directory for that, because it's going to do it in this folder first. So we'll set the directory to, in quotes, home API Snoop. And that will allow us to run get status and go, we're on branch new AWS. So I was working on some AWS stuff a moment back, so we probably need to like clear out of that. And so I'm gonna well, how do we run stuff inside of git commands? I'm gonna do this inside of Emacs and just do space PP for projects and go to API Snoop. And now that I'm in API Snoop, space GS gives us the fact that we're in this new AWS branch. We've got some untracked files that I think are okay to leave alone for a minute. And I've got some stashes there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I think we're documented and good. I think I want to go run git lol, and git lol for us is something that we do again, we won't, for the git lol, we're going to run it more like this. And as a, because git lol is a GUI, so it's better to run, or I don't know, it's not a GUI per se, it's a git lol. And so it'll make more sense in a minute. Git lol, and in our teammate session, it's still API Snoop over there. We're going to run git lol. And so when I run this, it'll change the session to git lol, and it lets us kind of see in a UI where or a command line UI where head is. Mm-hmm. And our head is currently at new AWS with some stuff for audit logger for it to work. And not, so I think this is probably okay to merge in, but I don't know that we're current yet. So I'll do git fetch all remotes, and that'll kind of update our remotes. And if I'm using a remote, you can see that there's a new document flow, a forced update on create deployment resources. Those are the tests that are being worked on right now as org files, as the mock test inside the API Snoop repo. But really what I want to do is make sure that my repo is on top of master. So if I do a git lol right now, we can see that the document flow and things are kind of, my head's way back here. And so if I want to catch up with everybody, my last merge point of shared thing is way back. So they're kind of branched off of here. Master is still way back here. So I'm hoping we can merge that today, which means I am right off master. Okay. Off this, and then that test is also, we got these 3 different heads. Like Caleb's head is over here at origin create lifecycle test. He's probably got another test somewhere up there. He's off the fixed wording for the daemon set, and then Zach is on document flow up there at the top, if I were just to guess. So that's git lol, and git lol, and then git lg. Now, and realize when sorry, I'm getting a little bit confused here. Hit U for undo. So there's git status, git lol, and I was going to do Shift V, select Y for yank and paste. So git lg. Probably could have paste those for us. Git lg. Really quit and get out of that. So we'll do try that again. Git lg. You'll notice it has the name and how long ago it was. It helps to kind of get it, and it's where your head is. So my head right now is at new AWS, just a few commits away from origin master from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to merge in the work we're not going to merge in. We're going to, I think it's okay for what I'm doing to go ahead and commit. Start not audit logger, find operation ID, community.org. You know what we're going to do just to kind of get this up is pick up where Zach is, right? So
Okay.
I'm going to do git branch. You can see that I'm on AWS. If you do -B, -A, you can kind of see all the different remotes. And that's the same as if we do space GS over here for APIs. Yeah, this is our API Snoop repo. So I just hit B for branch. Check out new branch, yeah, so there's going to be a checkout new branch. So I'm going to hit C, and then I'm going to do it based on origin. Is it document flow? Because I think that's where Zach is right now. And so I'm going to base it off a document flow and just call it.
So master is further behind. Why would you not always branch off master?
I'm pretty sure that we're going to rebase and merge Zach later today. So it's just
Okay.
knowing, and I don't know in long term we want to do that. Zach's branch has been a little bit long lived. We want to try to not have stuff with so many commits, but I know he's working hard to make it so. And this may be part of us testing his fork or his branch to be sure we can merge.
Okay.
So this is the branch called Riaan and HH and Bernal, right? So there's our new branch. And so now we haven't pushed that because it doesn't exist yet, but now we're here. And so if I go back to our riaan.org, how do we, we didn't, like now our git status will be a bit cleaner. And
Yep.
And our git lol command, we can get rid of that. So this is kind of our git commands. And I think the short story here was we needed to get to a clean slate, a clean branch based on Zach's current document flow. Okay.
Okay.
And now that we're there, we'll go through and start, use the starting point to bring up APIs. Test writing. And the way that we do that is a bit different. Because we are currently, it's going to get a little bit meta right now because we're using OS X on the desktop. And we're going to end up running Kubemax inside of a container inside of Docker.
Okay.
Here shortly. So this teammate block, this session is still going to be for Riaan. We can set these more globally. Pardon me. But for right now, on the dir, right? So the dir needs to be API Snoop. And we may go ahead and set that shortly. Oh my God, do we need that now?
Does
Yeah.
the session time out? I see the browser has stopped showing me the changes on this side.
The clicking is working over here. Let me go check out the browser. Just want to pull that down a little bit. And
those changes that you just had in the phone.
Hippie, API Snoop.
I think we were working in today, but I don't see the changes in my today that you just made.
The cursor's working for me here.
Okay.
And it may be because that when I'm typing over here in my Emacs session, do you see how the visual thing is working?
Yeah.
But my cursor is actually in a different spot, and it'll make more sense in the command I'm about to run how that's working.
Okay. Cool.
So in our agenda going down to the git commands, and we're about to do the starting point of this. So I'm going to take a moment so that we don't have to keep setting the default session and stuff. And on my computer, I have an org with all of my fun org stuff. And I'm not going to open up a file. I'm just going to open up all of it and do space SP to search for a pattern. And I know it's something around setting, I don't know, like the session, right? And it goes header arg. So it's a property thing that looks kind of like this. And I want to set the session statically. So I'm just going to do YY to copy that and then go back to space FR to go back to Riaan. and say at a general level for property at the top of the file, the default session is going to be, and we're just going to hard code it. So the teammate session is going to be Riaan and API Snoop if it hasn't been set already.
Okay.
So if I do space normal on this and it reloads and I go down to look at a piece of,
Nice.
of code block that hasn't been written yet, and we're using the starting point, and I'll get rid of all this. Oh yeah, and we should probably set the default. So we do this, and we're also going to override the default dir to be. It'll make it a little bit funny later on because when we're starting from scratch, because the directory / API Snoop won't exist.
Right.
Which will be a little bit of a pain. But if we delete all of that, now any teammate blocks will by default go in that API Snoop window. So if I just put ID here, it will just run ID in the API Snoop window.
Nice.
And then
Yep.
that's what we're going to do most of our work is the window 5. And if we look here in the tab, you can see it's again all the same in the background there. So now on the teammate side, what we want to do is explore some of this stuff. So I'm going to do the other thing we should do is probably shell blocks. So now we've got those properties. I'm also going to set the default properties for we'll call it bash, because I think if we be really clear that we're doing bash stuff, it might help people. So we don't need a session for bash, but a dir. We'll just use we want a dir of API Snoop for bash stuff by default. So we kind of did that just to make sure the teammate was working. If we do here and we do another shell block, bash block, we can go ahead and cat a few things just so it's really clear. There's some files, and this would be name list test files. I think it's tests. I don't know what it is. We're just going to do it like that. So this did that do what we wanted it to? If they're not called test. I'm going to go back up here and look inside API Snoop real quick, and it's called. Oh, he doesn't have all of the files. So in testwriting.org. Oh, he's really uplifted it. Where's the env files? I think he pulled all the env files out because those are what we've been starting with externally. So I may have to. We'll write those as we go. And I think what I'll end up doing with that is looking at the way we were doing it and just copy my contents out. Or we can think for a second. It's getting a little bit meta. He pulled our env. Maybe if he put it in docs. No. So the way we start with Zach stuff, maybe even just ask Zach to join us. Let me figure out the best way real quick. Yeah, let's just ask Zach to join us. Give me a second to find my Mattermost and copy my URL.
I'm also going to run out for 1 second. I'll be right back.
And then I'll somehow figure out what the URL was on here. I'm trying to find I don't have the Zoom room in that area. The Zoom room is over here. So I can grab the Zoom room is here. Trying to figure out how to start with the docs repo. With the docs branch. All right, I've messaged him on that, and what I might do is look and see if on my local computer I have this stuff already. So I'll go back to my local Emacs and go to my home folder and look for env file. Oh, that's my SpaceMax env file. go the other way to see how we were doing it before. That brings up the fonts. That's not what I want. Just going over to github.com, CNCF API Snoop. And at one point we had a test writing document that included an env file. So I'm going to take that env file as it sat there and copy it. You know what? I think I have this in a file that I was working on. And it was called like local test writing test. Local. Where was it? Is it an API Snoop? There, this file has, yeah, kind of how to start from scratch, but this is like doing things. We can look for the env file here. And this was me trying to tangle stuff out. So this is, this will be interesting. So I want to take this section out. And I think we also need the kind config here, which would include some changes and our Kubernetes nodes. So, and I'll actually bring up Ingress. I probably could have started back over here, but I think we just want to get this far and maybe his file will be updated. So let's yank that to Y and go back to test writing. And setting up our environments, we recommend Kubemax or the customize folder. So this is what was above the thing. So we'll put this setting up your environment and kind of do. I do somewhere. Do you see confirm entry? Admit. I have admitted Zach. And Zach is connecting.
Hello.
Hello.
We're making sense of the world.
Okay.
And it's a whole new world. And part of that world is some of the beautiful things you have worked on. And we have a few chatty bits here that I will grab the teammate session for somewhere. I think we have that too. This is sharing, PB copy, and then copy that into our chat. There's our ways to be here together. I think we're in the today area. When I opened up test writing, it didn't have any env files, so I didn't know how to start. It went setting up your environment, please have it up, and then do ingress. And so all of the work that I had around the stuff like this, around like an envs were gone. And so I'm trying to figure out how to start with your branch.
So they're still in the master branch, so they're not fully gone. We did remove it from here because it was unclear. The env file was for starting up the Kubernetes cluster itself and have it include API Snoop. But if you're reading the API Snoop in an org mode file, it's assumed that you're already inside a cluster. So it was this strange thing where it was containing code that should have been run before you got to the point where you could read about the code.
Yeah. Since Zach's joined, there's some feedback, like a mic is picking up an output. I'm not sure if that's Zach or if it's Berno or Riaan, but just be aware that your mic may be overly sensitive to the sounds.
I'll mute mine just in case.
Sure. Okay. Where should we put this to get to the point that it is there? Got test run.
It seems like a Kubemax recipe.
Okay, we can try that. This is Kubemax. Docs. I don't know where we were putting our. I think we had org files. And this was the CNCF API Snoop, and I was trying to put the stuff here. And I think that is I'm on master with the few changes at the top level for trying to change the port and whatnot. Turn off 3150 and customization, removing ingress. So why don't we go that route? I'll stage those changes real quick. And because right now we're running all of this inside of Emacs, the GUI. And what we want to do is run this stuff in cluster. So I'm going to take this whole, if we go back to our Riaan area, and then we go the git command. So the starting point is now a little bit different. So the starting repo is kubemax. It's not API Snoop. So if we go back up to our checking out the source code, we don't really have to check out API Snoop. I'm just gonna kind of comment that out, and then we'll go over here and check out kubemax now. And we don't have to do that because it's already there, and then we'll cd to kubemax, and then this gets data. So I wonder if we don't change the default thing here to the kubemax now, as far as I write on. And we'll run that session. And you can see now we're in that windowy area. And then I wonder, because now we're nested inside Teammate to share our screen, but we're not doing it as if you were doing it locally. So it gets a little bit harder. I'm trying to think of the easiest way forward to drive stuff from an org file that includes creating a teammate session that starts up. Like I think our entry points right now automatically all launch the things versus having some commands and then running a new terminal with the command in it to connect. Let me think about this for a minute. I think what I'll do for now is just start a new terminal, and then we'll cd to kubemax org, and then the CNCF work, and then API Snoop, and then we have these two files here. So what we might do in our capturing stuff is change it from session API Snoop to session kubemax, so that this kind of stuff can appear over here for our default, and also change our directory that we're looking by default to be folder. So when we do our starting point now, in our list files, we can actually go through and list our, what was it? kubemax. Oh, we're inside the repo, so list our org CNCF API Snoop, so that ends up being text that is over here. There's no directory called that because we need to do a normal to reload the file. So on our starting point now, if we move onto line 144, the list files actually shows us those two files. And in the end, what we want to do with that repo is run this in a local terminal. When you cd to the area, and there you can, and I guess it's from the home would be API Snoop, and then running CNCF conformance.env .sh, right? But we don't want to do that until we've edited them. So I think this is bash. You would run that.
On line 156, it should be kubemax instead of API Snoop.
Thank you. So the kubemax repo has those how to work on the API Snoop project kind of embedded in it. And if I go ahead and put this on the top line so it's real clear, and on the bottom line in window 3, I go through and look at what is it? It's kubemax, our org files for kubemax, our CNCF, and our API Snoop. I can actually get links to these files. So, and when I'm inside the README, here's the org file for going through and setting it up. Space AOL allows us to capture that. And if we go back space FR to Riaan's document, and we can copy that. So if we want to work on those files, I can paste this here and leave the default so that clicking here will load this file and this file in Emacs. And so if I'll do this in today. So on Control V1, if I go space SJ and we search for use the starting point, and we go down to clicking on line 55, it will load it. And now window 4 inside our terminal is actually this file that was written that is going to use the latest version of kubemax and our host ID. And I found that it's easier for me if we use a kubemax config kind name of kind and a kubemax host config name of the default of kube config. And then if we, instead of calling it local registry, just call it registry, they seem to be nicer for me. We would check out other versions of repos. Right now, we're going to pull out HTTPS API Snoop, which we'll have to go through and update. And the default folder was over here. But I think what we want to do at the moment is make sure that we actually start things up just in API Snoop. And at the top level, API Snoop test writing. I don't remember. It's API Snoop test writing. So we're going to open this file in cluster. Is that right, Zach?
Correct.
On 36, and we got a debug, and then we're going to end up running Docker, which is now that CNCF conformance thing, and we're going to pull and run this command. So if now that I've updated this README, if I can comma BT, I tangle that, it actually does an update. So space GS will show us that we have some minor changes there. The mode's been updated to not be executable. That makes me sad. Didn't we just set that? It may be that in our up here in our Docker, we need to actually set the mode, and it's the tangle mode. And I think that it requires doing identity here and then 0 or O. Is it O? And then we want 755, right? So if I do identity 755, it doesn't like that identity. You got to spell it correctly. So that file will get tangled, and it doesn't like identity either. Apparently, you got to spell it completely correctly. There you go. There's the thing. So if we retangle that and we do space GS, it doesn't note that the permissions changed. So that line 143, the line 43 takes the text between the begin and end block and tangles the block down to a file called CNCF-conformance and sets the mode of the tangled file to permission to executable. And it has a variable that's set and pulls through, and this will make more sense in a minute, where we take this other file we tangled down with all our permissions, including the updates we made, that appear as here is the changes. Like we changed it from CNCF conformance to kind and local to registry, and opening up testwriting.org instead. And we should go ahead and stage those changes, but I think they will be something we want to pull through. Same for here. But you would want to edit these for your own username. And let's see how far this gets. So now I think we're ready to run that in a terminal. So I'm going to go back to our bash, and we were talking about the commands we wanted to run in our. Let's go back to our Riaan. This is where we're doing some of our newer stuff. And remember those commands where I said slaying our fear of the black box? We actually have some real simple commands in Lisp to send some new strings. So I'm gonna grab a couple of those and just add this to our starting point. So starting a new iTerm or Xterm, take your pick. It's pretty much gonna be the same way. That will eventually start kubemax. Kubemax. And I think we only call it kubemax if it's actually in cluster later on. So I'm going to paste those things. So the who am I is not. The who am I is going to be new term. So we'll just call it new iTerm, right? Or Xterm or Windows term or whatever. So new term. And in the new terminal, we're just going to send who am I to make sure we got there. And then inside that, and this is going to do it to the last open window. So we could do that to anything, but I want to be really clear. And the string that we're going to send, actually, we can do this over here. So we're going to cd API, no, kubemax org cncf API snoop. Pretty much says start a new terminal and cd to that folder. And when you're there, we're going to send another thing that says bash and do that on cncf-conformance.env. All right, so this is new iTerm, new term, which is going to be generic, in API Snoop subfolder. And then this one is, it's not the bash, run the start script, the API Snoop start script, or the, it's kind of like, we'll just say run the script, and we probably need to modify that a bit. It's not the env file we're going to load, it's going to be the shell file. So if I hit enter over here, this is going to launch a new iTerm. And this will be the one that I'm going to share with you shortly, that's in cluster. And if I go and run this next command, before I do it, let's just look at those files real quick. So if I cat cncf conformance.env, we want it to fit on the screen at some point. But if I grep out anything that starts, where's the, this is starts with a pound. You need to do -v to skip it. So this is all it is. This is a few variables that are going to get passed into our shell script. If I cat the cncf conformance shell script, it's super short as well. It just says, eat the env file and pull down the image and run it. So I'm going to go ahead and enter over here on run the thing. And this is running in its own terminal that nobody's sharing yet. And it's going to pull down that latest kubemax image, which we hope does what's written on the tin. If not, it'll be less exciting. It will be good when kubemax is, we call it kubemax only when it's in cluster, and we call it humax when it's on a desktop or something like that. It's a bit confusing to have these multiple things that look very similar in use, but as far as what they do is very different.
If it's possible to like adjust the shell script in some way, because all it's doing, what it will do now is it will create the cluster, and then it will put you into an org file of Emacs inside the cluster. But if it's possible to run Emacs locally and then just communicate to the cluster that's been made, then we may not need kubemax.
Hold on, I want to capture the what if. What if we modify the script to use the desktop Emacs to point in cluster instead? I was working on that. The one thing that I want to be able to do is have it where they don't have to have any desktop software, and you could do it on any cluster, which is, that's what kubemax is. If we're doing the other thing, it's just making, because all it is running kubectl. So as long as your kubectl works, it'll do most of the things. And so it's getting the cluster up to the point where kubectl works, and it doesn't really matter. When we do new terminals, I think it does currently, if it's in cluster, it launches kubectl attach. So well, let's stop for a moment because we are doing in cluster right now. This is the environment variables that came through for our config. So go ahead and launch. It's a chance to verify it. And our image is down. So if I hit enter here, it should say, do you want us to tear down the existing cluster? And this is kind of going through its setup of putting Kubernetes 1.17.0 on my Mac via Docker, and Docker is kind of running over here under Docker desktop. It doesn't take terribly long, but there are even faster ways to get Kates up. And I want us to be able to do a variety of ways. Zach, do you know of a way on a Mac to have the keys you're pressing? Like we're having the keyboard down here so people can kind of scrabble along later. But I wonder if there's not a way to display the keys as they go across the screen so that they're visible in a sequence rather than the moments that they're pressed. The combination is good, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know off the top of my head. My inclination is you're probably going to get to a point where you're using OBS and you're sharing that screen instead of a webcam, because with OBS you could then set your whole environment so it would include key presses and all that kind of stuff, and you could have yourself on the bottom right and be displaying your screen on top.
Yeah,
because I mean at that point you're getting into like broadcasting territory.
There's a couple of things I'm trying to solve. One is making sure the way that we do stuff is available to turn into the a stream for others, and so that we don't have to work hard to create content. We just do what we always do, and it's available. And I'm not familiar enough with OBS yet. I think it's a Linux only thing, but I need to go in and look because often it's on. So I get this every once in a while. It's like the ingress got already created. And I had been updating the image to where it didn't didn't do that. So what happens when you run it? Does it give you this error, or did I do something different than how you run it, Zach?
I usually don't get that error now.
All right, then there's something different in your ENV. My ENV is pointing at latest, so we should probably look at exactly where you're pinned for now, so we're not working on multiple objects at the same time.
Okay.
We
And I
tried.
believe I shared my ENV file with you.
All right,
Let me see if I can grab it again.
that was probably directly on here. Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up.
Oh, it's in the KubeMax channel.
Max channel. Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up.
Oh, I'm going to share it with you again into the KubeMax channel.
I
One
like
second.
it. Or be a teammate.
We want to have some record of it, right?
Yeah. But this is a recording and I'll be committed. And so I'm trying to do this on top of your branch so that it becomes master soon. So this is a good place. Berno, I saw you had a question. Go ahead.
I'm just asking context for this. I want to back up once we have the cluster things running. I lost kind of the switch into KubeMax and from the checkout. So I think I didn't want to interrupt this workflow, get this working, but I wanted to see if we could kind of back up to, we checked this out and now we are starting it in cluster.
It's a bit confusing between the two, and that's why Zach was saying, what if we just did the one? But if you were just to use a terminal, you could actually just use these two files, which has been our starting point before, where you just have a conformance env file, and you just have a conformance. What was our grep with the characters out?
Okay.
I think it must have been another terminal. So that really it is just a single command with the environment variable. We have feedback.
Okay. And that would be in the repo that we were checking out as well. Because I saw you switched to kubemax.org. We started with the checkout for the API Snoop workflow, and I missed that transition. So.
That was me. I think we do need to have everything inside API Snoop itself, not have stuff spread out across multiple repos for people to get started. I think we're trying to separate out the abilities, but I think the documentation for getting started should all be in one. For API Snoop in particular, here's how you start, and so it needs to be in one spot, but it's not currently. We're refactoring the documentation, so it can be a bit confusing if there's not just the one place to get started.
I think that getting started is confusing, and it would be good to discuss it. Because this feels like it has some prerequisites that can't be defined in API Snoop.
And I think we were on a very good track up to, we're checking things out, and let's clarify where the env stuff went with Zach. Like, we're looking at the tests, and I kind of lost the transition to what the work that Zach was doing, the repo different, and it might have just been my attention. Like, suddenly we were in a different repo, and I didn't follow the entire flow there. Which luckily this is on YouTube, so we can go back through and see where I got lost. Just as a very clear flow up to that point this morning, and then it kind of transitioned off.
Here's Zach's env file and Zach's SAH file that he put there for us today. Thank you very much, Zach. And this will change some stuff, but I want to do it exactly the way he has it. So if I do a Docker PS, we should probably standardize on some of the things we're doing around names and the config file stuff overall, because our defaults are kind of very drifting a bit. But I'm just going to do kind cluster delete, and I think it defaults to the cluster we're working on, right? Delete. I think it's delete cluster. Kind delete cluster. And if we use the default, we don't have to specify anything, which I like. And I also like doing in kube defaulting to config, so we don't have to specify bars there as well. So I'm also going to delete my local kube folder. Before I launch I'm just going to do make sure this is recorded in our Berno. It's definitely your thing. So I think if you'll use a headset or something to keep the audio from looping in, or just would help. Train of thought. The train. Where's the train? What if we go through and we wanted to capture that information on starting the cluster, right? So you're saying how do we start from nothing? I think
we started with we're going to check something out. We're going to make sure we're off Zach's branch, and then I feel like we went.
I think we did switch. I think that was the problem, is we didn't have this env file to start, and that's the starting point. And it got removed from the repo because we're trying to move things around. And having those two files as a starting point is kind of critical.
But just to clarify, what it will mean is that you will be checking out the API Snoop repo, going to the org file for getting started on the API Snoop repo, creating a cluster, and then joining the org file in that cluster and no longer working locally. Like, you're going to have two Emacs sessions running, and the first one is to generate itself again to be into the second one, which is kind of confusing.
Yeah, and I think that was I didn't see how did we switch to,
None of us
it's the notion of having it, like having the kubemax set up inside the API Snoop means that you check out API Snoop and then have to rebuild it and check it out again.
Okay.
I think the flow I was thinking of before was nobody checks out anything, and you go to the repo and you copy paste the thing that creates the env file and the sh file into a terminal, and it just works. And you don't check out anything on your computer. That was the flow I was initially targeting and trying to, because I think that fits the most for people not having any software on their computer except Docker.
Yeah, it's just figuring out the business case or whatever, figuring out the use case for it and how people are going to be getting to it. The other part in which we've discussed but hasn't been documented as much is that, for example, my env file, I switch depending on as my flow changes. And so I think in my env file, you'll even see that there is a private repo for my hours. And the idea is you have a cluster specific kubemax setup, and with it you can adjust the repo you want to be working in today, whether that's API Snoop or some other new one, and then start at the cluster, which will bring down the repo and bring you into the org file in there. So it's a case where we have this like beginning shell script, but it's not actually related to API Snoop. API Snoop is a thing that you put into it to check it out, but it is a kubemax shell script, which is why I was saying that it's closer to a recipe, because once you grab it and once you bring it down, you reuse the same script, right? Like across various repos you're checking out. And so it's kind of confusing to have it be API Snoop because it assumes that you have to use this API Snoop specific environment variables, which is not true.
Okay.
So I think like I'm down to have it be less confusing, but I still think that it being separated out of API Snoop with a link to how to get started, if you're wanting to run this in cluster and such, ultimately will be the clearer path.
Okay. I think that makes sense. I think I'm grasping the context. It would probably come to playing with it myself and doing these same things locally to make sure that I'm seeing all the parts. But yes, what you're saying, that does make sense.
And I think it's a concept that we're still trying to define, but ultimately, like if you think of the shell script in the env file as not related to API Snoop, but that it comes equipped with API Snoop. But the only, like, if we look at the env file again, if you want to bring it up anywhere. So the only part of this that has a thing to do with API Snoop is line 28 and through 32. But even the variables that they're set to, the default repo, directory, and file, what it's saying is check out this Git repo, put it into our directory called API Snoop. So we'll actually have, I think that will mean that we'll have API Snoop / API Snoop. And then when you start up kubemax, go immediately into this file called API Snoop / test writing. But you could adjust that to be check out the coolpix repo, start up a directory called coolpix, and start up an org file called coolpix.org. Like, and that's why, like, in this one, we've got multiple repos that we want to check out, because when I get started in my day, I open up my hours, I punch in, and then I start up API Snoop. But that's not, I can't expect this flow to be shared by anyone else but me. But this overall shell script is going to be shared by anyone who wants to work on Emacs inside of a cluster, which is not API Snoop specific.
Okay.
It would make sense to make it more generic for everybody.
Yeah.
It requires SSH working as well when you're using private remotes. So that's another thing. I'm going to update this ever so slightly with some name changes to make it easier. I'll leave it to be Zach on the thing, but that's the only thing I'm changing so that it opens up, so that the file that we're opening also is a little different. I think we're going to open up API Snoop as a folder. And then API Snoop.
On line 30, it's the variable is set to where do you want to store all repos?
Right.
Yeah.
And what's the repo name for test writing?
And I'm curious if potentially the issue that we're having is because the kind name got changed to kind. Because I'm noticing that I still have a historical comment on line 19 that says for some reason we can't use kind as a name. And so if we do want to reproduce it exactly, I would keep the variables as they were and then try to adjust them and see where the issue was. Because it looks like I'm checking out the same Kubex image.
We can check that and see. I will now update these real quick. So home AI, and then we're just going to open up API Snoop testwriting.org. And now that that's there in our terminal window that we haven't done anything. So the flow right now is you really only need those two files. They happen to be checked out on our computer to kubemax ZZ. So Zach sent us these two files with Zach's env file and Zach's shell script. And so all we do is make sure I'm in the right window. It's kind of hard because it's all black. I'm going to run ZZ.
Okay, so it's literally just those two files that we cared about from that repo. Like we could have started with API Snoop.
Want to remove registry?
And before you, let me know, check the shell script real quick before you run it when you're done with everything else.
Okay. I think I want to change registry. I don't think it's going to matter. I've got cached images in there.
Okay.
And then we'll go back and look at ZZ's shell script.
So I think the env file, we want to make sure it's set to, I think we're missing some letters on line 1.
Yeah.
So it should be env file, like we're setting the variable there, and then zz.env.
Cool. So if we cat zz.shell, looks good. We cat zz.env, looks good. And then we do bash on zz.shell. And we'll say yes to the config. We'll scroll back up and see if it's what we wanted. So it said config current value. I thought we fixed that on our env. Do you think do we need to fix that? Put it back to what you had?
Potentially, yeah. I just we don't know necessarily what's different. They look largely the same except for those names, and so just to isolate what the problem is, it might be good to keep them as they are and then slowly change them.
What was it?
Actually,
Because it's not in Git. We just kind of
my Kubex host config name was just config.
Good. All right, that's fine. Have a nice day. And it doesn't have Kubex latest, so it's shoving it over there. the pushing of the images from your Docker daemon, I gotta make sure that kind Docker load image is actually loading the Docker image from Dockerd and not downloading it and pushing it again. Because I think there was a load kind Docker load Docker image file or something. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know quite yet because that's still running in Bash on the local host. So if we were to save the Docker image to disk, for example, it might work. So I'm still getting that ingress already used thing. And that may be that my Docker image isn't the same. Like you may have cached it a little while back and it is just not the same, which is why we don't want to use latest because it changes.
Sure.
If you've got it set to, so it might be looking at what Caleb was using, right?
Right.
So here's my kubemax commit hash. Mine's from 47 hours ago, so it's very unlikely that ours is the same.
I'm asking Caleb now.
All right. And I think I may have asked him the same question. We were unpinned a while back and trying to use the same. I really want to get us all on the same. Here's the one he was using. He made one for me. No, I got it. Go back to the image. Paste. And we'll do this, Shift D, D, J, Shift J, load. So then we get rid of that one. Now we've updated the kubemax image that we're using in our shell script. And then I'll go back through and we'll run bash ZZ with a new image. You can't find the image that he used, so it's pulling down Caleb's image. That'll take a minute. It will be good to get us all on the same, on the master and not on any longer branches on Kubernetes, on kubemax and API Snoop as soon as possible because we've been running around in different ways and the velocity can get kind of hard when we're on so many different places to step together.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when it's the way we work, in addition to what we're working on, and it being this GUI desktop thing versus the uncluster thing versus the trying to make sure we have YouTube recordings for videos of stuff.
Yeah, I think if there is some way, because I find I'm just trying to not touch my flow at all, specifically with kubemax. Like I'm not really, because I can't afford to not be able to get started for the day. And so the way that it works now, I can get everything up within 10 minutes. But if I adjust it at all, it and already things I've adjusted where tilt doesn't work, or teammate sessions don't work for running tilt. So I have to start up a new window and run tilt manually and stuff like that. But it still is okay as long as that flow becomes baked in. But we can't be working on software that while simultaneously the software that we use to work on software is changing. Like it's too difficult. If there was a way to have a tagged stable in kubemax or tagged stable in Humax that had a very well-tested flow for API Snoop, that would make me really happy.
We'll go put that in our Rian's paired expectations. What are you expecting? We're going to add one. This is not for Hippie. It's not done yet. It's still to do. And I want a stable Humax flow. Humax. Can you just say it again?
Yeah, I want a stable flow for developing and working with API Snoop.
Yeah, that's not
and
too
to
different.
have a clearly marked tag of stable for Humax or Qmax with like heavy ritual on when something gets added to that or when that updates.
Cool. Other image pulling coming. It's coming. Yes, I think that would be lovely for all of us. And is a variation on what I was hoping, what I was saying earlier, is like, we got too many starting points. And I think the in cluster one is good as our rock solid underpinning flow. And I'm trying to expand that to include out of cluster flow. And it may have gotten things a bit confusing.
I think the question is like, currently we have 2, 3, 4, 5 of us maybe who are going to be writing tests with Kubernetes using API Snoop and seeing what our need is, which if we find that it's always working in a cluster, then Kubemax is worthwhile. Like we have the business case for it. If not, then we can focus our efforts onto Humax. But we're doing this like, we're trying to build a single set of software where we assume that someone is running Mac and is not comfortable like doing anything but clicking on a mouse, and also someone is running software where they only have Docker and are super proficient with shell commands. And we're trying to build the same set of software for both of those. And I just don't know if either of them are like, either of those use cases matches actual people that we're working with.
It's good, Zach.
It's definitely, I mean, all of this is much smoother than it was before. Like we're doing some really cool stuff, but yeah, growing pains.
I would second that. This is a big step forward. Like this is already amazing. It's just, yes, making it human-centered.
Yeah, one other thing I've been thinking about in the naming of things, just Scratch area. Actually, I can just do this in Scratch. Space PS. Is it Humax or Humax? This one feels a little geeky. This one feels accessible.
The second one ties closer into II to me. The relationship part, and the first one feels abstract a little bit from II. The second one feels closer.
I vote 2.
Riaan, what?
I vote for number 2.
Thank you. Zach, deep thoughts?
Yeah, 2's good.
That was just a simple, everybody likes the one, so we'll stick with that. How's our tooling coming? And that's already used.
Different
Space
era
Dog.
though.
There's a different error. So what I hear you saying is the starting point is raw and it's hard and we need to like smooth the thing. I think we need to merge go ahead and do the merge.
Yeah, and I think my sense is that there's stuff that we're not necessarily thinking about in terms of cached things in the cluster or cache things in Docker that are affecting this. That if you were to, instead of be running this on a Mac, to log into like a packet box and run the shell script, it would probably work because it's like a clean environment. And so it's rooting out the parts that are persisting across these sessions.
We're in luck in that inside the API Snoop top level repo, I had a branch open called new AWS. So if I git check out, and I think we're good here, right? I can go and commit. There's a git diff on what's there. All we did was, yeah, we just abort it, right? So git reset hard. Yay, git status. Yay, it's all gone. But we're working on document flow. And I think if we stop working on document flow for a minute and go back over to AWS, or I don't, yeah, it might help for you to see AWS. So git check out, what was it called? Git check out new AWS. And if we look at here, this is back earlier, it's off of head, like it's 4 commits off of master right now. And I go ahead and get this up, and then we merge, because this is bringing it up. Let me see, how do we make this as simple as possible? Let's do all of it on hh.ii.coop, nothing local. And we bring up the API snoop.cncf.io in the old way. And we merge in the updates we need to for kubemax to work off master. And we update, and maybe I rebase my stuff, my changes on top of your file, so that it's all consolidating into you know, by the end of the day, a commit. So if I make sure my agent is working. Too many. I got an agent. SH my ID .ssh IDR say not a pub one. I've got that, so now I've got my key. This is our old flow, and we SSH with forwarding our key to hh@hh.ii.coop. And this thing is probably already in a pretty good state, moved forward, so that I was probably using ZZ's shell script here earlier, and ZZ's env file, which I probably updated to, nope, still his name. So if we do kubectl get pods, kubemax is already running, and there's a problem creating a master 0, which I'm not sure what that is yet. But if I do a kubectl exec-ti for kubemax 0 bash, does this look healthy? It looks like Emacs daemon is already running, so we should probably be able to do a teammate temp ii.default target attach. Now we're inside there, and it's having some problems starting that shell up, right? And that's probably because we'll just start here. All right, this is at master, and rather than debugging teammate, let's just get API Snoop up. I think this should be, I get fetch, and I get, let me make sure I pushed AWS flow from my Mac. I Snoop, can't type it. Push. Get remote, get push, set up stream, origin, new AWS. I do get push. Branch, Now it should be able to here to do get fetch. And it should say new AWS over here. Did you see that it pushed? It says everything up to date. Maybe we just need to get push origin new AWS. And now we're there. So if we get check out new AWS over here, we're on that new branch. And now if we run Emacs client in here, and AWS Snoop appears to not be doing its thing. And I don't remember if we kill Emacs at this point, like what it is that it's running in our init. User local bin Docker init. But the last thing is it's run bashed and attached. And that was the Docker init. But then the other one is the actual simple init. Simple init is what it comes back. So it does, as long as teammate doesn't die, we're good. So I'm going to kill all Emacs. There's no kill all? Kill 2, 3, 5, 2. And then kill 2, 2, 3, 5, 0. And then run Emacs window here. Make sure we start up another terminal. Things go bad. So now we're inside of here, and we'll go inside of space GS. So we're at new AWS, and I'm going to go ahead and I don't think we'll need any of the test writing changes because they're just those changes there. And I'm going to just discard and trash those changes because I want to do a rebase on top of origin, and then what was yours? Document flow. So I'm going to rebase on top of document flow. So now we're inside cluster, inside, and I'm going to work on Zach's branch with the stuff applied for bringing up the cluster. And inside of our test writing org, which is where we should eventually hit, we have the setting up your environment. And now we can go through and set it up for, this is what will work local on your computer. But we're going to change this to our new IP, which if I run that, it should actually update and use my IP, which is not where we're going long term. And updating it from local, instead of ii.coop, I think the domain we're shooting for is, let me think for a second. I think it's apisnoop.io. And we'll need to update the file in a moment where we have API, because it'll be like tilt.apisnoop.io. And that's because all of this stuff is inside of our org. Is it org? AWS? No. AWS, where's our AWS file? Is it PF AWS? There's a file that I had for doing migrate to AWS. It's a ticket. And I don't know if that file made it in or not. So it did. It's just under tickets. So we just need to go over here and go to over here, Snoop, org tickets. Where was that file? Org tickets migrate. It may somehow have disappeared. There's no tickets in our checkout. Does that mean you're on a different branch?
There is a, on the root of the repo, there's tickets.
And it may be that it got moved over. So
So inside of API Snoop, in the root of the API Snoop repo, there's a tickets
There are
folder,
tickets.
and then any ticket that is going to be submitted to Kubernetes goes to the K8s. Anything related to API Snoop goes to API Snoop.
Got you. Okay. What I'm missing is the file over here, and we'll just copy it. So I'll go back over here, and I had this move DNS. I'm going to copy this, migrate to AWS, and this is less a ticket and more of is it org is still there, but it's missing our explorations. We'll just use explorations, and then we're going to call it aws.org and paste. We got to paste the whole thing, so I got to go back over here and Control X, Control Y, yank, and then I need to paste over here. So now we have this DNS records. So DNS records, if I run this again, API snoop.cncf.io did not run accurately. Why? If I do this and we do it, 2 is redirected into 1, and do this, if there's any errors, we'll actually be able to capture them. So dig is not found on this internal thing. So I go to, what is dig? Anybody know off the top of their head? I think it's in DNS utils. We got dig. Let's go back to Emacs and run this. So API snoop.cncf.io, we can't control that. But API snoop.io co-op,
Okay.
that's why I wanted to put that here. And if we dig a bit further, we can see that API Snoop itself now resolves directly to that one address. So that we do control. And if we look at our, I think these are what it was before, before these changes, right? So this is the before, and as we got down closer, we wanted to make sure that the records work. So www.apisnoop.io should now point to the right place. So I think the domains that we want to do are now a bit clearer for our delegation, because this got all got moved over. So I want to stop for a minute because we've moved pretty far away from our Riaan+'s plan here. And it's also pretty late for Riaan.
Well, I think we're doing some good work here to get standardized.
It is good. What time is it for you, Riaan? We're at
12.
midnight.
Yeah. So if we wait another 2 minutes, you'll see me turn into a pumpkin. How does that story go?
Berno and Riaan, I'm getting a bit into needing to bring up the cluster itself. And I think through that, I'll probably be able to refine the image that we use and clarify that, and refine the repo and merge both of those into master and do a release. And it's probably a bit overwhelming to see all of that happen while we're here. So I think we should probably stop. And maybe I work by myself for a bit, or work with Zach to the point where it's a meaningful starting point, rather than heading deep into the weeds with me this morning. We already did a bit of weeding, but and I do appreciate it, but I also want to value everybody's time.
I appreciate that. Yes, I would like to continue on. I just the turn left, I do feel out of depth a little bit, following exactly. I can follow roughly what you're doing. I don't think I can reapply it, which is the point of what we're doing. So
Yeah.
If we back up and kind of re-enter at this point again, I think that would help. Yes.
We did not get to an overview of test writing. We did not succeed there. Our expectations weren't met. We did do a bit of progress to see some progress and support Riaan. So I heard a yes on that one. I wanted others to benefit, and I do feel others will benefit. Zach, this is kind of our goals for today together, and we'll continue that when we release our friends. And how can we help each other? I think you guys have been really simple and really clear in your communications, and I appreciate you helping me in that way. Berno.
I didn't feel we made progress, yes. I think clarifying the tool and the ways to pick up the tool there is still more to go, but it definitely helped, yes.
Some clarifying was done.
Definitely.
And Riaan, as far as the business process, there was some conversation around it at the beginning.
I think the step-by-step, once you clear out, we're going to get to the step-by-steps.
I'm going to leave these unchecked. We'll come back to it. But this is how we co-mentor each other. And I'm going to suggest that we bookend this by being thankful that we got to spend time with each other. And we made some amazing progress in a lot of areas where not a lot of the world is doing it in this transparent way.
And I really appreciate that you have a big focus on this. Is not only for the technical part. The technical part is where we went now, but
Yeah.
Thinking of my brother in South Africa, thinking of so many people needing communication, needing ways to share plans. This is exciting for a very different passion on a very non-technical level. So this is very cool. Thank you.
Part with Space Butterfly. Space Butterfly is my sign off. Oh, is it not going to do the thing? Oh, the timer is slightly off screen. They went away. We'll do it somewhere. Who knows where it went? Space Butterfly. And then, do you really want to unleash the powers of the butterfly? Yes. So.
That's funny.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
And
We'll catch
Stand up tomorrow.
Berno,
Thanks,
let's get this laptop back to you and maybe try to get a point where the meaningful expression of the team stuff is there, and do that in a couple of days.
Okay, I'll catch up.
I'm stopping the share, which I think I also have to stop the stream.